So having frozen our sample, we're now going to transfer it using the Leica VCM, which is the manipulator, and VCT, which is the transfer arm and instrument dock shown in the images. So the samples fit onto a sample holder. The one shown in this image on the top left is for freeze fracture planchets, 3mm freeze fracture planchets. The parts at the side, the right and left side of the sample holder, are for clamping the sample holder, either on the cryo stage of the instrument or in the VCM interior. So we have two options for positioning the sample holder in the VCM interior. One is fixed, that's at the bottom on the right, and then in the center circle part, you can move the center part of that in X, Y, rotate or tilt, and as you can see on the top right, the holder is clamped at quite an acute angle. Not much good for putting samples in, but very great for showing you how the sample holder clamps into the VCM and also the VCT and also into the instrument. So to enable us to manipulate the sample holder, we have three transfer tools. One is hemisphere shape, and that is the one that clamps and unclamps your sample holder. The other two, one has a thread on the end and that fits into the sample dock, and the other one is a hex key, and that's for locking that sample dock in place. So you can position it where you want using the threaded tool, and then you can lock it in position with the hex key. So here we have everything under liquid nitrogen. I've moved my samples into the VCM using a Falcon tube lid because it's nice and easy for you to see. I have got covered containers which probably reduce ice contamination. So the freeze fracture holder has a very simple device that enables you to insert the samples. It merely lifts the top brass surface. You place the samples in and then lower that to clamp, and then remove the tool, which always sticks of course when you're being watched. Then I'm going to pre-cool my tools. I don't need the tweezers anymore, so I'm going to get those out of my way. Now you can see I'm breathing and I'm wearing a mask, and you can see how much that's icing up. So what I'm doing here is I've inserted the threaded tool while it's locked, and then I'm going to unlock it, and now I can move the sample holder into the correct position for the transfer arm to be able to pick it up. I have docked the transfer arm onto the manipulator through the software control panel at the front, and now I'm going to introduce the rod to come and pick the sample up. Everything's bubbling under liquid nitrogen, and you can set the level of nitrogen at 3 different levels, either gaseous, low level or high level. This is set to high. I'm going to put the sample transfer rod in, the VCT, and for some reason it sticks. So I've also got a video that shows you dry. You put the sample rod in, twist it, and then it removes really easily, like the one on the left, not the one on the right. What I did was actually cleaned everything when it was dry, and then repeated it, and it was all fine. So then you can remove the transfer arm and dock it onto your instrument. So this is what I'm doing here, and the control does everything for you automatically. It detects that the sample transfer arm has been added, and then you can click the button to attach it, whereupon it produces a vacuum. The controller is in 3 sections, exactly as the VCT and also actually the VCM are. So the first is for the VCT, that gives you an update on the temperature and status of the VCT. The middle section is for the dock, and the right hand section is for the instrument. It does give you an update of what's happening, but it also takes a while to pump down to the right pressure. It gives you an update where I'm pointing on the screen, and there's also a progress bar. It does take a few minutes. You do find yourself standing around waiting, but eventually it will get down to the right pressure, and then the gates between the dock and the VCT will open, and then it will ask you if you're ready to transfer your sample. Because we're transferring not to an SEM but to a mass spectrometer, This process is not automated, and it does ask you to double check. So all you need to do is check that there is a suitable vacuum in the instrument. This is actually our hybrid mass spectrometer. It's a 3D TOF SIMS instrument with an Orbitrap detector. It's very sophisticated, very good. So we're still waiting. It's a good idea, actually, while we're on the subject of waiting, to make sure that you've topped the VCT up before you transfer it to the instrument, because you don't want to be sloshing liquid nitrogen around near such a delicate instrument. So I usually make sure it's topped up before I walk across the lab to the mass spectrometer. Finally, so it's asked me if I'm okay to transfer, and I've said yes, and then you should see the sample appear from the bottom right. Oh, there it is. And then that's docking into the stage of the instrument. I'll withdraw the sample rod for the VCT, and then I'll tell the system to close the dock. And we're all done.